Hi there, my name is Kathryn Pinkham and I am founder of the Insomnia Clinic, and thank you for joining me for my Sleep Well, Live Better webinar. I'm going to keep this webinar under about 30 minutes, and when I say thank you for joining me, I really do mean that, because I know that actually to give up any of your time when you're feeling tired and exhausted is a big deal. So thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to make sure that you get lots of value out of this session. As I say, my name is Kathryn Pinkham. The Insomnia Clinic is the UK's largest insomnia service. If you are watching this webinar, it's probably because you are having some trouble either falling asleep, staying asleep, perhaps your quality of sleep is not good enough and you're feeling tired and unrefreshed during the daytime. Perhaps you've spoken to your doctor and you haven't been offered anything other than sleeping medication, and you've tried everything else and you're feeling stuck in that cycle. If that sounds like you, then good news, you're definitely in the right place. I'm going to be helping you with all of those things that I've just listed in this webinar. So I just want to share with you some slides so that we can go through them together. So let me just open that so you should be able to see them now. So you'll also see there is a question box there. If you have any questions as we go through, any comments you want to make, anything you want to tell me, then just pop them in there and I will get back to you after the webinar and answer all of your questions that way. So, excuse me, I've got a bit of a tickle. Okay, so the aims of this webinar are that I want to talk to you about the specific techniques that you can use tonight to get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. I want to make a really big impact on how you feel about the future of your sleep. And I want to do that straight away because I know that you're probably feeling quite despondent and disappointed about your sleep. So I want to give you some confidence that you can sleep better. I also want to give you some clarity because I know that it can be really confusing. There's so much information about sleep out there, so much in the media at the moment, and it can be confusing. I know you've probably already wasted time and money on things that haven't worked. So I'm going to be telling you exactly why certain things won't be able to work, and explaining what does control your sleep so that it will become clear what it is that you need to do. So I'm hoping to have an impact on your future and your goals and how you can achieve your sleep goals. I'm not going to be talking or telling you the usual stuff. So I'm not going to be telling you to give up caffeine or stay away from your screens. I'm not going to be telling you to get a darker room or change your mattress. I know you've tried all of that stuff and I'm going to be talking about why that wouldn't work for you. So don't worry, this is new information that you won't have tried before. So really simply, I'll split it into two parts. You're going to learn about 3 things which control how well you sleep. So we're going to make that really simple. And then we're going to learn about 3 things that you can do straight away. These are tried and tested techniques that I've used with more than 2,000 clients over my 10 years of experience. And those are the things that I'm going to be sharing with you. So they come from a very human client perspective. I've done this in sessions time and time again, hour after hour with people. So I understand the questions people have and the adaptations that need to be made, and how we can fit it into real life. So firstly, a bit about you. Are you here because your sleep is not good enough? So let me know, what are your reasons for being here? Are you having trouble falling asleep? Maybe you're waking up through the night, you can't get back to sleep. Maybe you just have a very light, unrefreshing sleep. Do you feel tired during the day? Are you very anxious about sleep? Is sleep anxiety the biggest issue? Has it been triggered recently? Have you had it for a long time? And do you feel like you have tried everything? Is that how you're feeling stuck in that cycle at the moment? Let me know how you feel. And allow yourself to imagine for a moment, what if actually when you went to bed at night, you fell asleep quickly? What if when you woke up during the night, you didn't lie there for ages, staring at the ceiling, wanting to get back to sleep again? What if when you woke up in the morning, you felt refreshed, you felt well rested? And what about if you just didn't worry about it anymore? You didn't think about sleep. You just knew it would work fine and look after itself and you didn't need to worry about it, or your health, your physical health, your mental health. You no longer need to worry about those things. Does that sound and feel really unrealistic for you? Do you feel that actually your sleep could never be that good again? And I understand if you feel really skeptical that you could ever sleep that well, especially if you suffered with poor sleep for a long time, you've tried lots of treatments and you're still not getting the long-term results that you want. And I understand that because almost everybody I work with feels exactly how you're feeling right now at the beginning of treatment. By the end, they are hugely improved. So you can improve your sleep. And I really want to give you that confidence tonight to believe that. During this session to believe that. So as I say, over the last 11 years, I've helped thousands of people to improve their sleep, both in NHS clinics and private work. And ultimately, the reason we do this is so that people can live their life to the fullest. We all want to be the happiest that we can be. And if we are sleeping poorly, it's really difficult to feel motivated and get the most out of life. So that's why we're here, to learn to live your life to the fullest by improving your sleep. And the way we do that with those clients that I've worked with and my team has worked with is using this exact information that I'm going to show you today. I'm not going to spend a long time talking about myself, but I just want to cover enough so that you know why you should listen to me, because as I say, I know you're giving up your time. So just to give you a bit of confidence that I do know what I'm talking about, and I'm not just making this up as I go along. My background is working in the NHS as a psychological practitioner, and that's where I began my training in insomnia and sleep work. I have since founded the Insomnia Clinic, which is the UK's largest insomnia service. Up until recently, I was also running one of the UK's only NHS insomnia clinics. There was only 3 in the country, and I was running one of those. Unfortunately, it's no longer running due to restrictions in the NHS, but we were working with thousands of people each year in that clinic. I also work with some of the largest companies in the country, including RBS, Lloyds Bank, Deloitte, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, working with these companies to help them to improve employee sleep so that they could get more out of their work, but also improve the quality of their life. I've also featured on lots of different radio stations, Heart, Virgin Radio. I'm regularly in The Guardian, The Evening Standard. I've done pieces for the Sunday Times around sleep and how to get it, and the importance of sleep on our well-being. So I featured on lots of podcasts, radio shows. It's been my privilege over the years to work with some really interesting people, including Dr. Pixie from Embarrassing Bodies. She's actually a GP. So that was a really interesting conversation, because as a GP, she feels her hands are tied when it comes to insomnia, where to refer people to. There's a real lack of service for them, and having to prescribe sleeping pills all the time isn't a way of fixing the problem. So that was an interesting conversation. I've also worked with Joe Wicks, the body coach, to talk about how people can improve their sleep in order to reach weight loss goals and their exercise goals. I was also lucky enough to be invited onto the Chris Evans breakfast show on Virgin, and we talked about his sleep, and I was able to give him some tips, and the next day he had the best sleep that he'd had in 10 years. So that shows that actually you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours improving your sleep. It can be pretty simple as long as you're taking the right advice at the right time. Excuse me. I'm also currently on the Boots Live Well panel, talking about sleep. That's for Boots the Chemist as part of their wellbeing initiative. And I am also a menopause insomnia expert. So this is an area that is, impacts hundreds of thousands of millions of women, but is very, very under-resourced. There's very little information or help provided for these ladies. So I did a couple of podcasts around menopause, and I do work a lot with this group of women. So if you are in menopause, peri or post-menopausal, and you're struggling with your sleep, then this program is also going to be really helpful for you. So what's got me to where I am now has been my success in helping people to improve their sleep quickly using my recommended evidence-based sleep program. And this program of treatment is based on cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. It has my own twist because it's based on actual client experiences. So I'm not a researcher or a scientist. I actually work with people and have done for the past 11 years. So I see how in real life we have to adapt, and the questions that people need to know and how they need to see this working in real life, because it's all very well at being on paper in a research paper, but actually how do we adapt it for people to use? I'll talk more about CBTI later on if it's appropriate, but I just wanted to cover quickly that actually CBT for insomnia is very different from normal CBT. And the reason that's important is that there's lots of people who think they've already done this because they've done CBT. Very different program, has a specific insomnia, excuse me, a specific insomnia portion of it, which you won't get in normal CBT. Not all CBT therapists, in fact, very few CBT therapists are trained in working specifically with insomnia. It's a very specialist area. CBT studies, I'll talk more about them later, but they show, some studies show up to 85% of people improve their sleep using these techniques. I know that you're now thinking, what if I'm in that 15%? So I'll talk about that as well later on. And most importantly, CBT is much more than just sleep restriction. So if you've heard horror stories about sleep restriction, or you've already tried sleep restriction in some way or another and it hasn't worked, that doesn't mean that CBT for insomnia isn't going to work for you. It's just one element of a much bigger, more intricate process that you take all the steps to. So I feel frustrated, I think, when people who are not trained to deliver this information are giving people sleep restriction advice that actually just makes them feel worse. I'm going to be showing you how you adapt it to your needs. So let's get down to business. We all know that sleep is really important. So if you are struggling, as I say, you're probably feeling low in motivation, can't concentrate, you're frustrated, you're anxious about your future. And you've probably tried some of these things, giving up caffeine, drinking a sleepy tea, you've probably bought a spray or a supplement, you've got blackout blinds, you're probably trying meditation, maybe bought some apps that will help you to meditate for sleep. And yet still you cannot get that good quality sleep that you need. And please don't feel bad about that. It's not your fault. These things that I've just listed, and there's many, many more on that list, they actually don't work in your situation. So the truth is, these tips are called sleep hygiene. And they're the first thing that you always get recommended, the first thing that comes up on Google. But there is no definitive medical evidence that will show you that it actually helps somebody with a real insomnia or a sleep problem. So it's sensible advice. If you are looking to improve your lifestyle and you already sleep okay, then of course giving up caffeine and having a better wind down routine, that's all going to help you to feel better in general. If you already have a sleep problem, these things are not going to be able to help you. So what are we talking about with a sleep problem? Because you might think, well, I'm not an insomniac because I do get some sleep. So insomnia is classed as trouble getting to sleep, staying asleep, or feeling unrefreshed due to poor sleep. 3 nights or more per week. And if it's taking you longer than 30 minutes to fall asleep, and it's been lasting longer than 3 months, and you feel like your daytimes are affected, then this is all classed as insomnia. The good news is that therefore means that it's treatable using this program. So if you can see yourself on any of those bullet points in that list, then this is going to be helpful for you. 1 in 4 people suffer from insomnia. I think that number is probably, set to rise, certainly after 2020. So you're certainly not alone, and it is fixable. And the great news is you don't need to give anything up. You don't have to start taking anything. You don't need a really strict routine that takes hours before bed. You don't even need to know how to meditate. You don't have to take on yoga to relax. You don't have to avoid TV, and you don't have to give up all your screens for hours before bedtime. We don't have to do any of this stuff to actually sleep well. So in order to make the most of this, what I need from you is to have a mindset that actually you can change. So I can't guarantee that you're going to sleep well every night, and actually nobody can. I'm a sleep specialist, and I don't sleep well every night because nobody does. Certain things will impact our sleep. But if you knew that these things were going to work, what mindset would you be in order to try them if you really believe they were going to help you? If you do nothing, it's unlikely that your sleep is going to get better. It's going to stay the same, and it will potentially get worse the more anxious you become about it. So are you motivated? Let me know. Are you actually motivated to make these changes? Are you ready to make them? And if not, what's stopping you? Tell me what's getting in the way, and I can help you with that. So would you start today? To help motivate yourself, think about actually what are your reasons? How would life be better if you were sleeping better? Have a think about that. So moving on to the content, what actually controls how well you sleep? So the first thing which controls how well we sleep is our sleep drive. So when you wake up in the morning, you start building this natural drive to actually go back to sleep again the next night. So the longer you're out of bed, the stronger this drive becomes, like an appetite. So if you imagine you wake up in the morning, you start building up that appetite. The day goes on, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. By the time you get into bed, the stronger your appetite for sleep is, the quicker you fall asleep, and the deeper that quality of sleep is. So that appetite and that sleep drive is really important, that we get that to be as high as it possibly can. And so we need to build this up to get that quality sleep. And also it will stop you waking up so many times if that drive is really, really high. So if you are struggling to fall asleep, or you're waking in the night, or you've got disrupted sleep, then this is evidence to show you that actually your sleep drive is currently too weak. That's why your sleep is not working properly. So my first tip in relation to the sleep drive is to spend less time in bed. Now, I know this sounds like the absolute opposite of what you think you should do, the first thing that you want to do when you're tired, and the first thing that most of us would do automatically, is spend more time in bed. So if I go to sleep and I don't sleep well for 2 or 3 nights, certainly by the 4th, 5th night, I'm probably going to try and have an early night, or I'm going to try and have a lie-in in the morning. The problem here is the more time you spend in bed, the weaker that sleep drive actually becomes. So rather than going to bed early to try and catch up on that lost sleep, instead, go to bed later and set your alarm earlier. So maybe go to bed an hour later and set your alarm half an hour earlier. Whatever you can do that feels realistic. Think about actually how much time are you in bed for compared to how much time you actually get to, how much sleep you actually get, and reduce that sleep window. Spend less time in bed. Go to bed later, wake up earlier. And by spending more time out of bed, you create a much bigger appetite for sleep. Then when you go to bed, you're more likely to fall asleep quickly, you're more likely to sleep in a deeper quality sleep and wake less because of it. So I hope that makes sense. I know it can sound terrifying because you're thinking, oh my God, I'm already exhausted, and now you're telling me to have less sleep. I'm not telling you to get less sleep, I'm saying spend less time in bed. Longer you're out of bed for, the stronger that drive is, and that drive is the easiest way to start improving your sleep. It's not the only thing you have to do, but it's going to be one of the biggest changes that you can make. Put simply, less time in bed equals a stronger appetite for sleep. So the sleep drive is the first thing we have to improve in order to sleep well. The second thing that's really important is our body clock. So you'll all have heard of our body clock. It's not just controlling sleep and wake, but it's also controlling hunger, thirst, temperature, when you go to the toilet. All those things are included in that 24-hour clock. And so when you're born or when you have a baby, we know how to sleep. Everybody can fall asleep, but we don't know how long for or when in that 24-hour period we should do it. That's something that we have to learn. So we learn a pattern. Now, that pattern gets broken for whatever reason. Let's say that you are under loads of stress. So your sleep pattern is broken. Let's say that you have a cough and cold or some ill health, or maybe you don't really know. Perhaps you just had a few bad nights of sleep and you don't know why. But your pattern gets broken. So suddenly your body clock doesn't really know when to fall asleep. You're waking up through the night and it becomes disrupted. So we end up with a new pattern. Now, although you don't like your current sleep, it is a pattern and it will be sticking to some general guidelines and some general routine. And the problem is your body clock is now taking this on as the new pattern. An example of this is if I was to set my alarm for 3 o'clock every morning, then I did that for a week. Probably next week, I wouldn't need to set my alarm anymore because all of a sudden I would be able to just wake up at 3 without doing it. And that's because I would have trained my body clock to do that. So when we have disrupted sleep, we end up training ourselves to actually sleep poorly. And that's why this new pattern feels like you've forgotten how to sleep well, because that's exactly what's happened. Your body clock has been trained. And there's the example there. Sorry. So I've trained myself to wake up. And the problem here is that we are sleeping poorly, we're waking a lot. And now your body clock doesn't know what to do. It's unlearned how to sleep well. Your body clock has forgotten how to do it. It's taken on this new pattern. So it's out of sync. This new pattern, which is adopted, is the disrupted sleep. And now hopefully you can see how no amount of relaxation, no amount of chamomile teas or breathing exercises before bed are going to reset that body clock. We need to wipe the slate clean. We need to teach your body what to do. So hopefully what you're starting to see is how some of the things that you've perhaps done to improve your sleep, they aren't tackling the right thing. It's this idea that actually we just need to be relaxed in order to sleep. Well, of course, being relaxed is great for many, many reasons, but it's not the only thing that controls our sleep. If your body clock fundamentally believes that you should only sleep between 12 and 3 because you've been doing it for so long, that's a new pattern. It's giving you enough sleep to survive, but it's not enough to feel good. We have to reset that body clock. My second tip around this body clock and things that help to maintain that disruption is around looking at the clock. So we all do this. We wake in the night. First thing we do is have a look at the time. And this causes disrupted sleep for 2 reasons. The first one is the more you check the time, the more you set this internal alarm to keep going off at the same time. So if every time I wake up, every couple of hours, I check the time, I'm telling my body, please wake up every couple of hours because we need to check the time. That's why sometimes you look at the clock and it's exactly 7 minutes past 2. And the reason that is happening is because your body is a clock. You know, you're learning how to wake up at the same time every single in the early hours or every single night. So Firstly, you're setting an internal alarm. You're creating a vigilance around the time. You're teaching your body and your mind, there's something I need to be aware of here. Don't go into a deep sleep for too long because there's a job that we have to do. It's really important to stop checking the clock for that reason. Secondly, more often than not, if you see the time, it triggers a chain of thought. So try to think about, actually, when you wake in the night and you look at the clock, you will interpret what this means to you. Sometimes it will make you feel better. Very occasionally you might go, I've got loads of time left, and you'll go back to sleep. More likely, it creates anxiety. You have anxiety that you're not going to get enough sleep, that you're going to be tired tomorrow, that tomorrow is going to be really difficult. And this leads to a release of your adrenaline. Your fight or flight response kicks in. The problem with that is that once your adrenaline's kicked in, adrenaline is the opposite of sleep. And what we've now got is adrenaline going through our body. You're going to be wide awake, ready to fight or flight. So checking the time contributes towards that. So tonight, you set your alarm for the morning. You're going to set your alarm earlier than you usually do. You're going to be going to bed a bit later, and you're not going to check the time. Excuse me, I've got a little tickle. The third thing that controls how well we sleep. So we've got our sleep drive, we've got our body clock. The third thing which controls how well we sleep is our connection with our bed. In order to sleep well, we have to connect our bed to sleep. And it sounds obvious, but actually, if you spend half the time you're in bed awake, then actually your bed is just as much connected to wakefulness as it is to sleep. So think about, how much time do you spend in bed awake every night? And how have you learned to feel whilst you're in bed? It's very unlikely that you're resting. I know our mums always used to say to us, oh, it's okay, you're resting, just rest your eyes. Actually, how rested do you feel? I mean, if I'm awake in the night for a couple of hours, I don't imagine that I would be feeling rested. People report they're feeling anxious, they're wound up, they're frustrated, they're having very negative thoughts. It's very difficult to stay positive in the middle of the night. So actually, all of those feelings we're associating with our bed. We're training ourselves and conditioning ourselves to feel a certain way in bed. So if you feel anxious and frustrated, or just awake, you've developed a connection with your bed that is about being awake and not asleep. Again, fight or flight mode is switched on, leads to further poor sleep and more sleep anxiety. We're relating our bed to being anxious. Put simply, bed plus being aroused and awake equals insomnia. We condition ourselves to have insomnia by spending time awake in bed. So one of the ways that you can start to manage this is around reprogramming your mind to sleep well. So one thing that all the poor sleepers that I've ever worked with have in common is how they talk to themselves about sleep. Imagine this. If you have a child and every single day, regardless of how they slept, if every day you told them they were a terrible sleeper, that tomorrow they weren't going to be able to cope because they were going to feel awful due to lack of sleep, how well do you think they would sleep? Let's forget whether or not they were good sleepers in the first place. But every day you told them that they didn't sleep well, that they were more tired, that they hadn't coped as well, they couldn't concentrate. How well do you think that they would be able to sleep? But this is exactly how poor sleepers speak to themselves. We constantly provide this narrative, this negativity around our ability to actually sleep and our ability to cope without sleep. So for the rest of today, I want you to have a think about how often you think about sleep, what language you're using with yourself. What you think is how you will feel. If you are thinking like a poor sleeper, which, by the way, is very understandable because it's frustrating and horrible to not sleep well. But if you've got into this cycle of always thinking like a poor sleeper, you will feel like one. The more you feel like one, the more insomnia will come because the more pressure you're putting on yourself to sleep well. Think about a good sleeper. They don't think about sleep. They also don't wake up every day feeling refreshed and energized. They just don't attribute those problems to sleep. So think like a good sleeper. Just start to notice how often and how you talk to yourself about sleep. It becomes self-fulfilling. So start noticing it. See if you can change it in order to improve your sleep. Again, this adrenaline. The more adrenaline, the more worry you have, creates this disrupted, unrefreshing sleep pattern, which leaves you feeling very tired during the day. Now, particularly that last point, probably easier said than done. You know, we all know that worry is not good for us and it doesn't help, but yet we still engage in worry. So I understand that actually that can feel really difficult to do. So I'm going to help you a little bit more with that. What I've shown you here are the things which control how well you sleep. They're the only things you need to know about in order to control how well you would sleep. They're the only things that will impact on how well you're sleeping. But we've had less than half an hour. I can't create, you know, for many of you, very lasting change in this short time that we've had together. And that lasting change is what I want to. I want you to be able to long-term improve your sleep and have the tools to nip it in the bud anytime you have a couple of nights of poor sleep. So to do that, I need to support you beyond this seminar. So I'm going to show you how. When I first started working with poor sleepers all those years ago in the NHS, the only option people had was actually to work one-to-one. There was hardly any providers in the UK. I was one of very, very few people trained and able to offer it. And that's still the case today. There are very few CBT for insomnia specialists. So your options really were a long wait list or sleeping pills. So personally, I could see people, but it was very time consuming, and it meant that many people couldn't afford it. Once we went into private work, it wasn't accessible for everyone. So I thought to myself, how can I help more people? Now I know this works. How can I get this out to lots of people? Because what I discovered was not everybody needs therapy. The vast majority of people just need to know what it is they should do to fix their sleep. They don't all need therapy in order to do this. So in 2018, I took all of this knowledge and experience of all of this client work, and I condensed it into one highly effective step-by-step training program. It's called the Sleep Well, Live Better course. And it's a step-by-step program, and it shows you exactly how to fall asleep quickly, how to sleep through the night, what to do when you're waking, and how to get rid of that sleep anxiety and that stress and that exhaustion around not sleeping. Everything in the course is tried and tested. We've been using it for years. It's condensed. We've got rid of the bits that kind of are time consuming and don't help people. And we've just put in all of the best bits that I know work, all evidence-based, all based on NHS recommended techniques. So here's what you would learn in the course. You will learn how to use some sleep scheduling. This increases your quality of sleep, and you will learn exactly how to calculate your perfect sleep window, your optimum time to be in bed for. If you're taking sleeping pills, I offer support around how to wean yourself off them. If you're taking sleeping pills, please don't feel you have to stop them before you start the course. You absolutely don't have to. You learn how to deal with that sleep anxiety and any other anxiety. All of these skills are applicable for sleep worries, but actually any worries. You'll learn how to stop waking in the night, so how to wake up less, but you'll also learn what to do when you do wake up and how to get back to sleep easily and quickly. You are going to learn how to change your thoughts around sleep so that you no longer dread your bedtime. You learn how to calm a racing mind. You're going to learn what to do when you wake, what not to do, what's going to help you, what's going to hinder you. As I say, you find out your perfect sleep window. There's a 2-minute worry cure in there. You can use this every day. Lots of people have been using this for the first part of the program. 2 minutes to stop your worries, to learn how to change your views and your feelings around worry. And how do you know the difference between being sleepy and tired? You know, you've been exhausted for so long. How do you know when you should even be in bed? So we look at all of those kind of things that contribute to this problem that you've got. How you're going to connect your bed to sleeping well again, how you're going to increase that quality of your sleep. And this is suitable for you regardless of how little sleep you get or how long it's been going on for. So don't worry if you think, well, actually, I don't even get any sleep, or I'm only getting 2 hours in the middle of the day. It's still going to help you to restructure and reset your sleep pattern. So here's how it actually works. In the course, you get it's based on a 4-week course, but there is no time limit. Once you've joined, it's yours forever. I update it all the time. I put new videos in there. There's 22 videos in there at the moment. I think there's a menopause specific course. I think that has a couple of, that probably has 25 videos because it has 3 extra based specifically on menopause. Videos are short, very manageable. The longest one is only 22 minutes. So this is not a huge time commitment. Many of them are much smaller. I've broken it down into sections so you can choose what's applicable to you and what you want to watch. There's workbooks that you can print out. It's not techie. You don't have to return anything to me. It's just me talking as I am to you now, as if we were in one-to-one sessions. And it's as close as possible as you would get to working with me personally on your sleep. It's a very personal human program, all delivered by me. Many people see results really quickly in just a few days. And this is regardless of how severe that problem is or how long it's been going on for. By the end, you will get better quality sleep. You'll feel more rested and energized throughout the day. Excuse me. And ultimately, I'm aiming to give you back control of your sleep so that actually you can live a better life. You can enjoy life more without worrying about sleep. Main question that you want the answer to is, how much is the course going to cost? So if you were to work with us on a one-to-one basis, the cost per session would be £120. And although it's different, most people are different for everyone, although most people have an average of around 5 sessions, which comes to £600 for the course of treatment. So you'll be pleased to know that the course is not £600, it's just £225. So that's everything you would get in those one-to-one sessions, but for just £225, so less than the cost of the 2 one-to-ones. But I want to give you more bonuses today by joining the online course, because I want to add as much value into that as I can. So I've prepared a few bonuses that I'm going to run through with you. So the first one, and I think really this is the most interesting one and the most useful one, is that you get access to my private membership group. So this is a community on Facebook, which is private only for course members, where I go on every day and you can ask questions. You can get full support throughout the course from me for any problems that you're having, any reassurances you need, any anxieties that you've got, any questions. You can always ask me and I will get back to you on that forum. So it's direct access to me. I personally respond to your questions. This is as close as you can get to working one-on-one with me. There is a community of people who are just like you. It's a very supportive community. It does help you to feel less alone. And there'll be people who have similar situations to you and similar issues and complexities that can help. Currently, this is included in that price of $225, but this will become a paid feature in the future. At the moment, whilst I can, I'm offering it for free whilst I have the capacity to answer the questions for the people on the course, but it will become paid. So at this stage, it's free, but it may not always be. The second bonus that I want to give you, which is only available in the course, is a 2-minute worry cure video, which I have created. It's a technique which I created after working with clients who consistently have this fear and worry and fear of not sleeping. It works really well. It's 2 minutes a day, only available in the course, and you can use this for all different types of worries rather than just about sleep. So it's a really useful technique, and this is something that I developed, so this is the only time you'd be able to get that. The third bonus is for those people who are worrying, what if this doesn't work for me? What if I'm one of the people who doesn't see improvement? So 100% money back guarantee. There is no risk at all. You can take the course. If you're not happy, if you don't feel as though it's right for you, then within the first 30 days, you can contact me and I'll give you a refund in full. So there really is no risk. There's no reason not to take the course and to try making those changes. And the reason why I can be confident enough to give you that 100% money back guarantee is because actually CBT for insomnia is not a new treatment program. Although there's not much access to it, your GP might not have recommended it and you may have only just heard of it, it's actually been around for a long time. There's been studies over the last 25 years, over 100 clinical trials, and they consistently show improvements. Average 70 to 80% of people show long-term improvement. Some studies show more like 85%, and we're certainly replicating that within the clinic, within the insomnia clinic. It's a recommended program by the NHS and the American Academy of Physicians. It's the gold standard first-line treatment for insomnia. It's as effective as medication, and it's more effective as a long-term solution. So this is something you can just return to whenever you need to in the future. And finally, the last bonus I want to give you is to say thank you for listening today. Is you can get £30 off using code webinar30. So when you get to the checkout, you add the code webinar30, and that will take off £30 as long as you make sure you update the car if the code's not in there. So you type it in and then update, and that will give you £30 off, making it just £195, and that's for the whole course. So that is much less than 2 one-to-one sessions. That's just for the next 48 hours. So rather than just listening to me saying that the course will help you and that it works for the vast majority of people that take it, I wanted to show you a few of the Google reviews. So I'm only going to go through a couple, but please do go to Google and have a look at my reviews, because we've got lots and lots of 5-star reviews, and that will really help you to see the different situations that people were in. Teresa Britton said, life-changing, a really nicely presented, easy to follow program. I'm astounded how something so simple can change my life so significantly. Ruth, I've had insomnia on and off 30 years, so it's a long-term insomnia problem she had, including times where I only slept an hour or 2 for months, and I've tried everything. This course worked really well for me, highly recommended. Pamela, with all the multitude of sleep apps, sleep books, sprays, sleep teas out there, nothing has made, excuse me, more sense than the Insomnia Clinic. Kathryn is knowledgeable, with an approach that makes total sense. The cherry on the top is her truly kind, helpful and attentive manner. I would not hesitate to recommend the Insomnia Clinic. I just started Kathryn's course and find her calm, reassuring, and very knowledgeable. I first started with a free lesson and had the best night I've had for a while. As I got further into the course, I still had some difficult nights, but that's because I was struggling to accept that I had to change some of my habits in order to get consistent quality sleep, even if it wasn't 8 hours. Kathryn replied to my emails in 24 hours, and since I bought the course and in the Facebook group, I've asked questions and had replies within hours. So that's the Facebook group and how that can really support you as you go, because I will always get back to you. Tom, can't recommend this highly enough. I struggled with insomnia on and off for over a decade. My relationship with sleep and my bed is flawed, but within the space of 3 weeks, my whole mindset towards sleep has changed. And Kate, finally, I struggled with insomnia on and off for most of my life. It's a practical, useful, and supportive course, and I'm so pleased that I did it. So the one thing that at this stage could still be holding you back is your fear. So I understand that you are worried, what if I'm one of these people that it's not going to work for? All I can say is you are motivated, you've come this far, you've watched this presentation, which means that you are in a position where you want to make changes now. So as I say, I can't guarantee you're going to sleep every night. Nobody does, and nobody should guarantee that. But I can guarantee that if you carry on doing what you are doing, it's very unlikely to get better on its own. It's really important, if you're going to make changes, you make the right ones from the evidence base that's proven to help. So don't let fear be the reason that you stay in this cycle of poor sleep. Fearing poor sleep gives you the very thing that you fear. You worry about not sleeping, which means that you don't sleep. You can break that cycle. So quick recap, in the course, this will help you work by giving you 4 weeks worth of materials, but you can take it over any time limit you want to, lifetime access. Video and workbooks all online. You can listen in the car, on your laptop, on your phone, going for a run, wherever you want to. Lots of people get results in a few days, and it covers everything you would get in a private consultation, and it's just $195 if you use that bonus voucher, which is webinar 30. The 4 bonuses you get for having come today is you get the access to me in the private support group throughout the length of the course. You get the video, how to stop worrying about sleep, 2 minutes a day. You get 100% money back guarantee within the first 30 days, so there's no risk. And finally, the voucher to get the money off. And it's going to help you by helping you fall asleep quicker. You're going to wait less. You're going to get back to sleep after waking. You're going to have less anxiety. You're going to feel more refreshed. You're going to improve memory, concentration, give yourself more energy, less anxiety, and ultimately, you're going to live a better life if you can improve your sleep. So finally, if you feel that actually you do need more, if you take the course but you need more support, you can at any point request a one-to-one session. These are an extra charge, but you get a discounted price if you're already in the online course. These are a trained team of CBT therapists working with all sorts of conditions, including insomnia as their specialism. I'd urge you to always try the course first because it's quicker, it's cheaper, you can start straight away as soon as you buy it. But at any point you need support, you can get it from us. You don't have to carry on your own. So finally, the last question is, are you ready? Are you in the right place? I know that you've probably got some questions, so do drop me a question in the question box here or visit theinsomniaclinic.co.uk and send me an email from the website with any questions you may have. And I really hope that's been useful for you. Thank you for sticking around. I know I've got a little bit over the time, but hopefully you found it useful and worthwhile. Thank you very much.